Thank you. We praise you. We lift you. You've been good to us. You've been kind. You've been faithful. We've come because we need to hear from you. Spirits need you. Our minds and emotions need you. Our lives need you. There are divine voids you've left that only you can fill. And today we've come to hear a word that fills our voids, that heals our diseases, answers our questions, and makes our crooked path straight. Send now your word. Our eyes will see it. Our ears will hear it. Our minds will receive it. Our hearts will believe it. Send your word and our lives will live it. In Jesus' name. And it's for Christ's sake we pray and say amen. Certainly we honor God today. And to his son Jesus Christ, our kinsman redeemer. And to the Holy Ghost, the Paraclete, our help, who leads and guides us and walks and takes us into all truth. We thank God for his heart towards us. When he loved Israel enough to lead them, he sent them Moses. When he loved his people enough to give them who they listened to, he sent them David. When the new first century church was birthed, and he loved the church enough, he sent them a Paul. And when the mind of God, the heart of God, when he said, some people will give of them, and some people will give themselves. Some people will give you what they have, and some people will give you who they are. And Jeremiah says that God gives us pastors after his heart. So every leader, every pastor you know is a piece of God's heart towards you. And when the heart and mind of God thought about Voice of Praise, he gave Voice of Praise to Pastor Alice. John 2:9. When the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and knew whence it was, but the servants which drew near water knew. The governor of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, every man at the beginning does set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worst. But you have kept the good wine until now. For a few moments, let's consider the thought, I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose. Tell somebody nearby, say, neighbor, I have nothing to lose. Yeah. Tell somebody who's not so close by, say, hey, you over there. I have nothing to lose. I got nothing to lose. I got nothing to lose. We would be hard-pressed to find many things in life that are equal in value. Value, the system of value it seems to differentiate from one person to another. What's valuable to me may not always be valuable to you. And the value that you hold a thing I might not hold it the same value to it. It's the reason why I don't often like letting people use or letting people borrow things of mine. Because the value might change once it leaves me. I might let you hold something of mine, and I might hold it in high value. But when you get it, you might not hold it at the same high value, and you'll treat it at the value that you hold it and not the value that I hold it. Value differs not just from things, but value differs in seasons. The value of time changes. And when I was younger, the value of an hour seemed to change from you value more time when you're having fun, and you value it less when you're not having so much fun. 8 hours at an amusement park seems to go by really fast, but 8 hours on the clock at work seems to go by really slow. Yeah. The value of things change because people see things differently. The stock market is key. because every day the same stock changes in value based on who is valuing it, who's investing in it, who think it's worth something. And most people will only invest in what they see is already worth something, or something they see they can make worth something. My brothers and sisters, there are people even in the stock market that will buy a stock really cheap because they believe I'll turn it around and make it better than what I got it for. Oh, I'm halfway there. There are people that know how to recognize something that may not have good value up front, but they can see that if I dust it off a little bit, all I got to do is take it home. Some people, I might not be y'all. I know you might be high sedity, but some people like going to the thrift shop. I'm one of those people. I like going to the thrift shop. I like every now and then finding something that somebody else won't value the same. I like finding things that somebody else has changed their values. It has lost its value to someone else, and it may not be worth to them what they paid for it. And I'll be able to get it at pennies on the dollar because I can see this is worth more than they're offering it. This is worth more than what they say, what the price tag says. This is worth more than what whoever used to have it gave it up for. My brothers and sisters, every now and then in our lives, we can find people around us that don't always value what they see, what they hear, and what they know about us. Our value will go up and down in society, and it's often based on what we bring to people or what they can benefit from us. That's why when we're younger, when we're kids, we tell our kids, and as we're older, we tell our kids, and when we're younger, we hear from our parents, always make something good of yourself. Become a valuable member to society. In the workplace, you are paid because you bring something to the table. Your employer sees there is something I can benefit from you, and the more you have to offer, the more you bring to the table, the more value I'll put on you, the higher the price tag you can have. But there are some people that may look around and say, I don't have much to bring. I don't have much to offer. It might not be what you want, but what I have is worth something to somebody. Can you pause here and say, I've got something on the inside that's worth something. I've got something that's worth something. Bible says it on this wise, for we have in this earthen vessel a treasure, that the excellency is of the power of God and not of man. You might not see it in your driveway. You might not see it at your address. You might not see it in your neighborhood, but there's value on the inside. There's value in your heart. There's value in your mind. There's value in your hands. There's value in your feet. There's value in your strategies. There's value in your plans. And God is sending the proof that there is value even in the times when nobody sees it. Because we suffer psychological damage by only seeing ourselves as valuable through other people's eyes. Again, we'd be hard-pressed to find something that everybody values the same. You have people in your life, people in your circle, people in your family, that one person, they can't live without you. The next person, they can do without you. One person, they can talk to you all day. The next person, it'll be a while. It'll be a minute before you hear from it, and they won't think twice about it. Same circle, same you. But the value changes from one person to another. And there are many people that suffer because they're looking to be valued the same by everybody. But many people have strained relationships because you're looking to be valued the same. If this person can value me this way, why can't that person? And if that person don't see me, then I don't see how somebody else can. There are many people that suffer from identity crisis because they don't know who they are, so they just keep becoming what people need from them. And every time somebody needs something different, they become somebody different. Why? Because because I want to be seen as valuable. In my life, I want to be known as valuable. And if I'm around people that don't need me, if I'm around people that don't have a void that I'm filling, if I'm around people that I can't meet their need, then there's something about me that I have to change, something about me that I have to fix. And day in and day out, there are people that are constantly re-identifying themselves because they're always trying to meet a different need. They're always trying to meet a different void. They're always trying to look for value through your eyes. Jesus is at a wedding. I know the saints, I know y'all don't go to parties. Jesus was at a party. I'm not going to stay there, I promise. I know some people, some saints that if they got weed there, I'm not going. If they got liquor there, I'm not going. Text says Jesus was at the party, knowing there was going to be wine. The need was, we have to have, and you have to understand the culture. When you threw a party, your reputation was based on the quality of hospitality that you provided. All right. Yeah. That's one other reason I don't like everybody coming over my house. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about everybody else. Because when you go to someone's house, they expect a certain degree of hospitality. And people have differing measures of expectations. And if you don't meet their measure, then that's your reputation. And I don't always know the measure of expectation when people come over, so I just don't. Keep your expectation over there. The expectation was, if you're throwing a party, hospitality must be high. That was measured by how well the food was cooked. That was measured by the decorations around the house. That was measured by the servants that were set in place to meet every need. And that was measured by the wine that was served. Everything had to be top notch. And I know the culture now, y'all know how much people spend on weddings. Sometimes I'm embarrassed when people tell me how much they spent on their wedding. I'll be like, wow. 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 I will not tell y'all how much our wedding cost. Y'all gonna look at me funny. I promise you it wasn't that much. Woo. The amount of money people spend now on the hospitality to make sure that when someone comes, they're getting the best. When you come to the ceremony, you see the best. I've taken the thought to every detail that you'll encounter. When you go to the reception, the environment is the best. And hopefully the food is the best. Now, I know y'all don't go to the wedding, the ceremony, the receptions that have open bar. I've been to a few. There was this one wedding I went to. It was a cousin of mine. Y'all please be kind. I went to my cousin's wedding, and between the wedding and reception, they had this little, whatever that's called. It's too fancy for me. I don't know. It was the pre-reception. Cocktail hour. There you go. So we're standing around at the cocktail hour, and they're handing out the little glasses of champagne, wine. I said, sure, I'll take a glass. I'm holding the glass, And my cousin walks over with a gentleman and says, "Hey, cuz, this is my pastor. This is Reverend Cartwright." And I'm standing there with my glass. I said, "God bless you, sir. It's a pleasure to meet you." Ever since then, I'll be honest, if I ever have a glass of wine, it'll be in the comfort of my home, where I won't be blindsided by somebody. Be nice to me, please. Jesus' mother tells him that they've run out of wine. He's like, "That's not my problem." I'm in the text. He says, "What does that have to do with me?" But he understood the inference as a guest. This ain't even, his mother's issue was, this ain't even my problem to fix. It's not my wedding. But as a guest, it will look good if there's something I can do about it. She had limitations. She couldn't do anything, so she comes to Jesus. Jesus finds it in his heart to oblige his mother. She tells the servants, whatever he says to do, do it. Jesus gives them instructions. Go get the water vessels. Here's where our strength in the text is. The water vessels were pots, stood about this high, clay, nothing fancy. No. It wasn't something you would pay a lot of money for. It was often set outside of the house at the door, because it's what they had held the water in as people came in and out. There would be a servant that would stand at the door and wash the feet. They didn't have the red bottoms that we have today. They didn't have the Jimmy Choos they have today. I'm sorry. They didn't have a lot of the fancy footwear. They just had open-toe sandals and dusty roads. So the hospitality of the house would provide someone at the door that when you show up, they would wash your feet so you don't track the dirt from outside through the house. These water pots is what they would rinse your feet from. There would be a servant that would just dip in the water and put the hands in, and the water pots would end up with dirty water in it. All they would do is empty it out and leave it there, put more water in. That's the value. It wasn't made for Kool-Aid. It wasn't made for champagne. It was made for water. Water that was intended to clean but would end up dirty. I know you don't know anything like that you had the best intentions to apply to someone else, and somehow you walk away stained. You show up to clear somebody else's name and to straighten somebody else's problem out, and somehow you walk away with a bad reputation, and you end up stepping back and say, how did this fall in my... I know it's never been you that you ever tried to make things better. That was your whole point. That was your whole reason, and somehow or another, quickly things turned and you were the problem. Jesus says, go get water pots and fill them with water. Here's where we take our point. They had to start out empty. Because the value that Jesus needed was not even in the water. The value he needed was that there was nothing in them. And too often we think that we can amass so many things in our lives that we offer to God and assume he'll see this as valuable. And I'm as valuable as the salary I have. I'm as valuable as the friends that I surround myself with. I'm as valuable as my gifts and my talents and my abilities. I'm as valuable as how faithful I am to Bible study and to prayer night. I'm as valuable as my songs I sing. I'm as valuable to do this as I'm doing this and that. And God says, no, I need you to be empty. I don't need everything that you're bringing to me. I need you to bring me your nothing. I need you to bring me your shallow space. I need you to bring me the parts of you that you haven't filled with anything else. And too often we've filled our minds with too many things that God can't get in our thoughts because they're already filled. We filled our hearts with too many feelings and too many emotions, have too many experiences where he can't get in our hearts because it's already filled. Would you please yell out and say, I'm making space. I'm making space. Songwriter says, Lord, I'm available to you. My will I give to you. I'll do what you say do. Use me, Lord, to show someone the way and enable me to say my storage. We think he's looking fullness, but he's looking for emptiness. He's looking for tell somebody, I've got nothing to lose. I'm trying to lose my nothingness. I'm trying to lose my emptiness. I'm trying to get rid of the space that I have. And the only way to do that is to be presentable before God, is to present our bodies. Yes, sir. A living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God. That is our reasonable service. Jesus says, when you find these water pots, the inference is they are not going to be perfect, but they'll be empty. They won't even be clean, but they'll be empty. They may have some marks, some scars, and some cracks, but they'll be empty. They won't be pretty and they won't be protected, but they'll be empty. And the value is that I need vessels that have not been attached to anything else, that are not being committed to anything else, but are free to be used, and they're empty. Would you tell somebody, God can use me? Because I'm empty. I know I've had a lot of experiences, but I came to church empty. I know I've had a lot of history and a lot of past, but I came to church empty. My prayer is, Lord, fill me up. Jesus says, go get the water pots and fill them with water. He didn't tell them what would happen. He didn't tell them where if there would be a change made. The only responsibility they had was to be obedient. That even took a degree of emptiness from the servants. They could not assume that he was going to do anything other than what he said. Even though it did not make sense, they had to have a clean slate of expectation. That his mother warned them, whatever he said to do, just do it. Don't you compare to what the last person said. Don't you compare to what your mama said. Don't you compare to what the ruler of the house said. Whatever Jesus, it's not going to make sense, but do it anyway. It might seem like it's not going to work out, but do it anyway. Has that ever been you where you said, Lord, I'm empty, I'm available, and then he tells you to do something and you said, no, you can't mean that. I don't even see how that's going to work out. That don't even That don't answer the question that I asked you. That don't meet the need that I'm bringing to you. That don't fix the problem. You can't mean that. Jesus, we ran out of wine. Go get some water pots and fill them up with water. That don't match. But that's how he uses us. We are the answer to someone's problem. But we can't be if we have pre-existing expectations of how to meet their need. When they're not looking for you to meet it, they're looking for God to meet it. Pastor said it earlier, God will often use you, but he has to use your emptiness. We can't determine, Lord, I'm going to meet the need my way. He said, no, I'm going to empty you out and then use you to meet their need my way. You think that because you have this, that, and the other, and you think that because somebody sees this, that, and the other in you, then that's the only value you have. But every now and then God will say, I can see something in you that if you empty everything else out, I will put something in you that you didn't even see coming. I'll put something in you that you never knew you could house. I'll put something in you that you're not expecting to release. So he tells them, put water in there. Water was not the beverage of the house. It wasn't what people came for. It wasn't the expectation that those who were in attendance had. And quite frankly, it didn't meet the need. But it doesn't mean that that was not what God intended. Can I pause here to remind you and to encourage you that there are things God will put in you that you might look around and say, I don't even know how to use this. I don't know where this applies. I don't see a void that this fills. I don't see a blank that this can fit into. How do I apply this? How do I use this? Where in my life does this fit? Every now and then, God, out of nowhere, he is the God of creation. So he can take nothing. When he said, let there be light, there was no light. But because he said it, every element that existed came into fruition and manifestation to become what he said was needed. When there is darkness and light is needed, God says, let there be, and there was. And oftentimes we're only looking at the needs that we can see. And we think that we have to become the need, that we have to become the supply for the demand for that we're around. But God knows what's around you and what's not. God knows the voids that people have, and it might not be something you can see. And every now and then, God will put something strange, something different, something that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard, something that no one has any reference for, that when the need arises, you will become what they need because you didn't see it ahead of time. Can you please tell your neighbor and say, neighbor, I'm going to become what somebody needs. Yes, sir. I'm going to become the supply for somebody's demand. You may not see it today. You may not hear it in my voice today. You might not can put your hands on it today. But there is something that God is curating and cultivating inside of me that's going to meet a need. Here's where it gets a little sketchy. They take the water pots to the governor of the house. And when they get there, sometime, I don't have biblical accuracy for exactly when it happened, but it was sometime between the dip and the pour that there was an exchange. Without expectation. I don't have a time to put on it, but somewhere between when they dipped and when they poured it, the servants knew we didn't put that, and I can only imagine the anxiety that came with the servants knowing we didn't put wine in here. They're going to put this on us. They're going to blame this on us. Has that ever been you where you said, this ain't even my fault? I can already see this is going to come back on me. This is going to make me look bad. But they were empty enough to follow Jesus' instructions. My brothers and sisters, I abhor you to make sure that whatever God tells you to do with all of your might, to the best of your ability, you do it with exactness. Let's put hands to the wheel. Would you please tell your neighbor, say, neighbor, I'm going to give what God gave me with the best of my ability. I'm going to meet somebody's need with the best of my ability. I'm going to give God all the nothing that I have. You might think that it takes my talent. you might think takes my skill. You might think that it takes my ability. The best thing that I can offer God is nothing. I've got nothing to lose. I've got nothing in my mind. I've got nothing heart. I've got nothing in my home. I've got nothing in my marriage. And if God can use my nothing to meet somebody's need, if God can use somebody's nothing to make someone raise their head, if God can use my nothing, there will be one thing as a result. Would you please tell your neighbor one word? Say, neighbor, I've got one word for you. That word is better. I'm starting with nothing, but I've got better in expectation. When they gave the governor what was in the water pot, it turned into wine. Jesus already knew that what the house needed was more than what they were used to. Jesus knew that what the need was, they didn't have it, but if they gave what they had, then he would make it what they need. Would you please tell your neighbor, I don't have what I need, but I know if I give what I have to God, he'll make it what I need. I gave my heart. He gave me joy. I gave my ashes. He gave me beauty. I gave the spirit of heaviness. He gave the of praise. Please tell your neighbor, all I have, I trust God to do more, to do better, to do more, yes, to do better, to do more than what I could. Please find you a neighbor and say, neighbor, what I'm giving is better than what I thought. The Bible says when they gave the water to the governor, he tasted it and said, usually they give you the best at the beginning and the worst at the end. But then when I tasted it, you gave me what was better than I had. I got Bible for you. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. In the beginning, you start nothing. Better is at the end. You might feel that you're empty. You might feel that you're broken. You might feel that you're scattered. You might feel that you're dirty. But when he sees you, he sees there is a vessel that can house what somebody needs. There is a vessel that can hold better. But you must release old wine. First must release the water. You first must release what's on the inside and trust that God has better in store for you. I don't see Rachel, so Hannah, I don't see Hannah. I'll talk to Pastor. Would you please, for the last time, find you a neighbor. Find you a neighbor. Yes, sir. If you gotta get out your seat, if you gotta go across the aisle, find somebody may need a little better in their life. Find somebody
that is tired of what they're used to. Find somebody that's looking for God to improve your situation. Find somebody that has a margin of improvement, that this can't be where it ends, that this can't be where it stops, that this can't be the last. Would you please find you a neighbor and say, neighbor? This is not all. It's not the end. This is not the best. I've had good and you've had great, but God has better. Oh, that's my word for you today. You've got nothing to lose, but what you have to gain is one word. I want to let you know that you have been deputized to prophesy to your neighbor and tell your neighbor one word, better. Find another neighbor. Tell them one word. I don't have details. I don't have time frames, but I've got one word for you. Better. Better in your home, in your school, better in your plans, better in your business, better in your ministry, better in your mind, better in your marriage, better in relationship, better, 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 better. I don't know who feels ill in your life, who feels that it's been what too long. I don't know who's gotten to the end of your road and said, this can't get better than this. I've come to give you what God says. You start with nothing and you'll end with better. Better. Start with nothing, end with better. Start with nothing, end with better. Start with nothing, end with better. I'm not ashamed to say I came with nothing, but I'm leaving better. Whoa! I wish y'all could feel it like I feel it. I wish y'all could feel it like I feel it. The strength of better. Mind-blowing. Stupefying better. Whoa! That devil thought that he could keep you at the door. That he could keep you just holding water, that he could keep you as just a tool to clean others, and there would never be any use for you. But the kingdom has made a clarion call. The kingdom has set out an APB. Go and find some empty vessels. Where are you? I need to find some empty vessels. The master has need of you. I need to find some empty vessels. Not vessels full of ego. Not vessels full of experience. Not vessels full of mastery. Vessels full of knowledge. But I need some vessels that have nothing. That says, Father, I stretch my hands to thee. No other help I know. And if thou withdraw thyself from me, tell me whither shall I go? I place myself in the master's hand, and he made better of me than I used to be. Please, for the last time, tell your neighbor, better, better, better.